beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, who publishes peace, who brings good news of happiness, who publishes salvation, who says to Zion, your God reigns. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it. You guys have nice shoes, actually, this morning. You do all have way nicer shoes than me. So beautiful feet here, not just because they're all wearing nice leather shoes, but because these are the feet that bring good news. And so we're excited to have Adult and Teen Challenge here this morning. I think most of us know who they are, but I think Steve can give a little bit of an introduction as well. And have you been here before, Steve? Have you spoken in this church? This is only like a year old, this stage, so it's in a dream. Same here. This is my brother, Steve Chaboyer, and Steve works with Adult and Teen Challenge in Winkler, and he is slowly moving into my family and kicking me out, I think. So he spends more time with my parents than I do. He spends more time with my brother and my sister than I do. And I'm not actually exaggerating on these things. But it's good. Yeah, Steve and Anna. Is Anna here somewhere? There. That's Steve's wife, Anna, and their two kids there are with us this morning. And so, yeah, Steve's been a big blessing to my family, to my brother, to my sister, to my parents, and to me too. And he's been out here just spending time with me in my office, just praying and encouraging me. So, yeah, I'm thankful for Steve and for Leo and Gabriel and Tyler, who are here from the program you guys are all in Winnipeg, right? So they made the long drive out this morning. And I was saying, every time Teen Challenge comes, we have a blizzard. Like, it's just kind of standard. And this year, beautiful sunshine, so it's wonderful. So we've got 40 minutes here. That's for all four of you guys to use however you want. We're going to hear some of their stories and testimonies. But are you going to start things off, Steve? Okay, so I'll pass it on to Steve, and then you guys just take your time till 10:15.
Good morning. It was pretty chill driving in this morning, and then Jeff asked me to share something other than I had prepared, so yeah, bear with me here. Is it okay if I lean? Yeah, okay. My name is Steve Chaboyer. I work for Adult and Teen Challenge. I'm sure most of you know what Teen Challenge is, the 12-month residential program, faith-based program. More recently in Pembina Valley, we have a community office, and I work out of that office with Derek Neufeld. My title is community support worker, which under that falls a variety of things. I do stuff like this, booking church outreaches and one-on-one mentoring. We have men's group, ladies group, which I don't facilitate. A lady does that. And lots of intake. That's new this year. We're doing a lot of intake for all of Central Canada. So when we get applications into our main database, there's me and two others that process those, and it's really busy. That's good and bad, because if we're busy, that means other people are struggling. But God's moving, and you'll hear a few of those stories this morning. Where should I start? I guess 7 years ago, I never thought I'd be where I am today. My wife and I talk about it all the time, because 6 years ago I was in jail. I spent most of my life from age 14 and up in and out of jail. I grew up in Winnipeg, and we moved to Winkler when I was 12. My mom got a job out here doing home care, and she moved us out here to keep me and my brother out of trouble, because I'm sure all I know you can't run from your problems and from that. So I never got in trouble in Winnipeg with the police. We moved out here in September of 96, and October of 96 I got arrested for the first time. And yeah, my whole life I was just, I was always the chunky poor kid in school. You know, I didn't have the fancy clothes. She's laughing. I didn't have the fancy clothes. I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't the smartest. And so I was out of those groups for sure. So I found the easiest place for me to fit in was at Smoker's Corner. So that's where I found my acceptance, and I thought it was cool. Back then I really thought I was cool. I had an uncle. I didn't have a dad. My dad left when I was 3. I never knew him, but my uncle was kind of my father figure, and he was really angry, alcoholic, abusive, and but he was funny. And when he was in the room, everyone was laughing, and I always looked up to him. I was like, that's what I want to be like when I grow up, and that's what I became. I started drinking when I was 12, smoking. When I was 17, I tried crystal meth for the first time, and from that day on, it just everything went downhill. It was just always in trouble with the law, in and out of jail. Like I said, went to jail the first time when I was 14 for stealing a car from Winkler, and I got caught in Winnipeg, putting my own gas money in it. But yeah, every year pretty much I was in jail or something, and I just couldn't. I realized after, right? It's always after, but I was chasing after something, that acceptance and that love that I guess I didn't get at home, and this is where I found it. I became like the scumbag of scumbags. I was the reason you locked your car doors. I was the reason you locked your house doors, because given the opportunity, I would have probably stolen something from you. I didn't care about anyone but myself. I was just an angry guy that nobody wanted to hang out with. But I had someone in my life that I don't even know how we met. Like, honestly, looking back, I don't know how we met, but this guy just started showing up at my house, and with one of his friends. Sometimes he'd come alone, and he walked in on me getting high. He walked in on my garage full of stolen stuff, and he just smiled and told me he loved me and Jesus loved me. And there was one point where I thought he was a cop, and I just thought he was weird, and because I didn't understand. Like, I had a neighbor living beside me, and every morning he's, "Hey Steve, how's it going?" And there's people that would come to our place, like from churches and stuff, and I thought everybody was high. I didn't think you could be sober and happy at the same time. And yeah, so the party ended like years before I stopped doing drugs. I had 2 kids. They called me dad, but I wasn't the dad. I wasn't in any position to be a dad. I was a miserable person. And October 29th, 2017 is when I hit my rock bottom. I hated my life. I hated everyone around me. I hated everything I was doing. I remember being in my garage, because that's where I hung out. I slept in there too. I don't know why I had a bed inside, but I had a big bag of drugs. I had a stack of cash. I had alcohol, smokes, everything that made me happy in the world, right? But I was miserable, and like I said, I hated everyone. And I called out to this God I didn't know. This friend of mine, he always talk about Jesus loving me, and I was like, if you're real, do something, because I don't want to live anymore. I wanted to die that night, and like within 2 hours, there's a knock at the door, and it was the police, and they came and arrested me for a bunch of break-and-enters, and here I was on my way back to jail. But I remember that night when they put me in the cop car. As soon as he closed the door, I'm in the back of the cop car in handcuffs, and the cop told me I was done. I knew that I was done. I knew what I got caught with, and that was the first time I really felt what freedom was. I felt like all this heaviness that I was carrying was just lifted off, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew that something was going to be different. And I went back to jail, and it was different. Every time I went to jail, I wanted to get out. I did anything. I did all the programs. I did everything I needed to get out early. But this time, I was just content being there. And that's good that I was content, because I got denied my release. I got denied bail. I had to go to higher courts and all this. And God was working on me while I was in Headingley already. I was reading my Bible. I didn't quite understand it, but I was calling this friend. And that's another thing. When I went back to jail, they posted my name on Facebook and all the websites and all that. And I was like, oh man, this is bad. Now everyone's going to know, because they didn't know before, right? So the only person I could think of that wouldn't judge me is this friend of mine. So I called him, and he started to tell me things to read, and I'd talk to him every couple days, and yeah, I was just reading my Bible and realizing that it was real, and God was real, and I knew that prayer had something to do with me being in jail, just because everything just felt different. And it was a bit of a process in there, and so I applied to Teen Challenge. Originally, I just applied because someone told me that everybody gets bail to Teen Challenge, and I'd already been denied bail twice. So I applied to Teen Challenge, and when I got there, my intentions honestly wasn't to stay there. I just wanted to get out of jail, and I didn't want to do 6 years that they were going to give me. And within a couple months, when I got there, these guys could probably agree to that. It's just weird, the guys walking up to you that you don't know and telling you they love you and giving you a hug, and it's just weird at first when you don't understand it, but within a couple months, my heart had changed even towards all my charges. I realized that I was guilty of it. I did it, and I was like, God, your will, not mine. If I have to go back to jail to serve my time, that's what I have to do, right? There's consequences for our actions. And long story short, God moved into court the day before my trial. All my charges got dropped. I pled to 2 charges, so I was able to stay in the program. And I stayed in the program, but I wanted out of there as fast as I could. So I did all my work faster than everybody else. When everyone's watching movies, I was downstairs doing my work, and it doesn't help. Don't try doing your work fast. You're going to be there for 12 months. 3 weeks before I came back from Teen Challenge, I had an awesome plan. I had my plan. I had a job lined up, a place to stay, and yeah, within a couple of weeks, it all just fell apart. Place wasn't available, and I'm like, okay, God, what are you doing? And I found myself signing up for another 18 months, and this place I didn't even want to do a year in. So I did the leadership training program with Teen Challenge, and it's called Surge. I finished that, and I was fixed. No, obviously not. It's a journey, but like I always look back at where I was on those days when I'm discouraged and whatever. I just look back and see what God's done in my life. And my wife back there, she has her own story of I was selling drugs and she was buying them from me back in the day, and that's how we met. But yeah, God. See I always tell people Teen Challenge doesn't change people, Jesus does, right? But Teen Challenge is based on a relationship with Jesus, and that's why it's so successful compared to other programs. You can go to Teen Challenge for 2.5 years and come out the same person you were when you went in. And my wife didn't go to our program. She met Jesus in prison, and she's been changed ever since. But God's restored so much. Like, we have our kids back. I'll share a little bit about her, but like I didn't see my kids. My daughter lived 5 minutes from me. I never seen her. My son, he actually just came to live with us this June. God's perfect timing. My wife, she couldn't even be around her kids unsupervised for a while. And just looking back at all that stuff and who we were, and just the work that God's done in both our lives and continues to do in our lives, it's it's amazing. I never thought I'd be here today at a church holding, like this. Yeah, and I get to share that with other people. And I get paid to do it. Like, what better job, eh? I meet with people every week that are struggling, and Derek, when we're working closer together in the community with guys, it was a perfect kind of little setup, because people would come in there and he'd be talking to them and they'd be like, "Oh, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know this and you don't know that." And I'd be like, "Well, I do," and then vice versa, right? "Well, you're just a drug addict. What do you know?" Anyways, but God uses our stories and our pasts, no matter what we've done. He can use it for good, and he's continuing to. And so Gabe's going to come and share a little bit of his story and what God's doing in his life. Come here. I know Gabe actually I did his intake Teen Challenge. Just very quick, I'll share. When I went to his house, it was Monday morning, I think, and I went there. I walk in there, I was like, "Oh man, this guy had a rough weekend." There was 3 or 4 empty 15 packs, and I pointed, I was like, "Well, you had a rough couple days." He's older from yesterday. I was like, "Oh wow." But yeah, here he is today. He's actually put on some weight, and he looks healthy.
Yeah, I don't even remember that day at all. Like, I was pretty bad before I came in the program. Pretty much just drank and did drugs, anything I could get my hands on for a little while there, and then it was just drinking. And I was under investigation at one point for smuggling guns into the country, and I ended up doing a number of years in prison for it. And yeah, I got out and I kept drinking. And like at that point, the drugs kind of stopped there for a while, and then I started doing the pills again, and eventually I attempted to take my own life. And luckily, my girlfriend came home, and she was a nurse, and managed to save it, which was good. And I think that'd be rock bottom for me, but no, I just decided to keep digging. And eventually I had to stop, though, so I was looking to get help, and I didn't really know anything about Adult and Teen Challenge, and I wasn't even sure if Jesus was real, to be honest with you. And so I went to the program to get help for myself and just get clean and sober. That was my plan. Wasn't even planning on sticking around for a full year, to be honest. And I started making my way through the program and started feeling the presence of Jesus in my life. And what an amazing feeling that is. It really, really softens your heart. It's really a good feeling. And now I plan on doing the full year, and I feel healthy. I feel better. I feel joy for the first time in my life. And yeah, I'm starting to realize that there's no heart too hard or calloused or broken for Jesus to fix and mend. He really does work wonders in people's lives. Thank you.
Praise the Lord. You know, I'm just so thankful right now to be here, to be able to give my testimony. Well, I'll start off with this, I guess. I grew up in the church and everything, right? But I grew up in the neighborhood also where my neighbors and everybody that I grew up with were using drugs and living that criminal lifestyle. And I don't know, I got into it, you know, and I don't know where to start. I'm just thankful that my mom, like, always told me about Jesus, you know. And when I was younger, I always thought, like, well, you know, my mom's saved or whatever, right? But that really has nothing to do with me or, like, what I'm going through, right? It says that every man has to work out his own salvation with the Lord. And, yeah, so I've been in and out of jail my whole life, pretty much from when I was 12 years old up until 24. Selling drugs, stealing cars, break-and enters, bunch of dumb stuff. I'm not glorifying it. I'm just thankful to be set free from everything, and I'm thankful for Teen Challenge, the relationship that I have with the Lord now. Everything that I do it to honor the Lord. I don't do it for any kind of self-gain or like the way that I was living before, you know, it's instant gratification and thinking like, what can I get out of this? What can I get out of this? For me sitting here really, like, what can I get out of this? It's what the Lord can get out of this, you know. I'm just giving my testimony. I was honored to come here today and just to get on the mic and share the good news, like what the Lord has done in my life, how He set me free. I was struggling with addiction for a long time, but I was in the closet about it. And, you know, like, obviously people that were in my life knew. They could obviously tell, but I was acting like, you know, they couldn't see it or whatever. I didn't know. But, yeah, I'm 7 months in the program now. I'm just thankful. My younger brother's a pastor, and that's kind of what made me snap out of it, you know. Like, he came to me and he broke down. He's like, Leo, man, he's like, he was crying. He's like, man, you're going to die. Like, you have to stop doing what you're doing. I was injecting meth. I hit rock bottom. Like, I thought everything was all good at first, you know, like, God blessed me, got me a good job, gave me a family, everything like that. And, you know, if we stop going to church and stop doing things that the Lord wants us to do, like, just to be in fellowship with Him, that's all that He asks, you know. Because when I'm in fellowship with the Lord, I don't think about doing these things. I know that they're wrong. It's an automatic thing. Like, man, you shouldn't do that, Leo. But then if I stop going to church because I'm making excuses like, oh, you know, like, I worked so much this week, you know, I deserve to miss one day of church. Next thing you know, I'm not getting filled, so I can't go out into the community to pour out to other people. And, you know, so next thing you know, like, I was going to church and everything, got baptized, and serving the Lord, doing good, and, you know, it just crept on me like that. Stopped going to my meetings. I was going to Celebrate Recovery or Overcomer meetings, and, you know, it just came back one minute, you know, I just snapped, and I was arguing, like I started arguing with my wife. And next thing you know, I should have been calling my brother or another person at the church for support, but I walked out the door and I ended up going to my dealer's house. Yeah, I forgot to say that I was clean for 5 years, but then I ended up going to my dealer's house, and it's messed up. Like it's like those people that, like, some of them, they never change from what they're doing. It's like the same thing all the time. And anyways, I ended up going back, and it's like I couldn't get off of it. Anyways, I ended up going to jail. I did a break and enter. I was all messed up, so it was a blessing for me, anyways, because I ended up going to jail, and then I was able to contact Teen Challenge, and I'm here in the program now, and I'm so thankful. Every day, every chance, every opportunity that I get, I just want to encourage somebody that, the Lord's real, and He can set you free. There's no program that can set you free. It's just a revolving door. Like, hi, my name's Leo, I'm an alcoholic, or I'm an addict. You're claiming that, but there's no breakthrough, or you continue going through the motions, right? Like the way I thought about it was like, man, I don't want to just be patty caking for Jesus or something, right? Like, I really want to live for the Lord. So every day when I wake up and before I go to sleep, I give thanks. And I ask Him, Lord, just to be in my life, because I don't want to be used for the destruction of others and everything. I want to be used for the furthering of the kingdom of God. And yeah, I'm just thankful to be here, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler. 41 years old. I was from Vancouver. Growing up, I had a normal childhood, good parents, played a lot of sports, and I started working for my dad's company. Around 21 years old, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. One day I went to work and got in a fight with the foreman, and before that I was growing marijuana on the side, so I was kind of working 8 hours at my dad's shop. Then after work, I would go work 8 hours after, and was doing this for a few years. And then one day I went to work and I got in a fight with the foreman, and I was, money was the only thing I really started to only really care about. So got in a fight with the foreman. I ended up quitting, and after, like, I never should have done that. After that day, my life was never the same. I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. Slowly got involved in a gang at about 22, 23. Once I stopped working and I stopped talking to my parents. I didn't talk to my parents for about 8 years. At 28 years old, one of my friends, or so-called friends, broke my arms and legs with a sledgehammer, got stabbed 30 times, burnt with cigarettes, pretty much tortured. And I was in a coma for 3 months, and then waking up, I see my mom, and she was obviously, she's like, "Do you remember what happened?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And it came back to me in a bit, and sitting in that hospital bed, not knowing if I was safe or not. The police were like, some of my friends were coming to try to see me. They wouldn't let anyone in. They're guarding me, but I thought, this is where, in all the movies, that's where the guy gets finished off, is they sneak in and then kill him in the hospital room, right? So I was pretty freaked out. About a week after, through the coma, I pretty much woke up healed. Got metal plates put on both my arms. My legs were I had to learn how to use my arms again, how to walk again. So I went to a rehabilitation center that wasn't at the hospital, and they used to lower me into a pool. Like, I was in a wheelchair, but they would lower me into a pool, and I would walk in the pool, and it was kind of warm. I don't know, I guess that's how they rehabilitate people. But after all this, the police were trying to talk to me. Do you know who did it? I remember who did it, but I didn't want to risk they offered, I also had charges from before. I had weapons charges at the time, and they're like, "We'll give you $1 million and we'll drop your charges if you tell on who did this. And I just said I didn't remember a thing, right? And I didn't want to put my family at risk, and everyone says it's like they call it ratting out or whatever, right? At the time, I'm like, I thought I was the only one that, or I thought everyone does this, they don't tell on each other, right? And so instead of getting out of that lifestyle, I pretty much jumped back in it that much harder. I trained my body, got back, everything back working. I was selling drugs like all across Canada. I was involved in a gang for years. At a point, like someone like I said, I was from Vancouver. Someone was dying every day for 6 months straight. At that time, Winnipeg was the murder capital, but then Vancouver took the murder capital of Canada. And I sold drugs, but I never really did drugs. On the weekends I would party and drink, but as I was selling drugs, I was like, I'll never do this, But after I got those injuries, the doctors put me on OxyContin, and so they were like, I was taking medical drugs, and then they stopped making or giving me the oxys, and then I started doing their fake oxys made with like fentanyl or heroin. It's an opiate. They're all, I thought, it's all the same. After I started doing the oxys, then doing drugs didn't seem that bad to me anymore. And soon after that, like from the pain I was in and just all the bad stuff I had done, I wanted to numb my mind. And I tried going to treatment centers, and nothing would work because all I cared about was what you could get in the fleshly things. Like I had houses and cars and bikes and boats. I thought, the more money I had, the happier I would be. But I still had this hole in my heart, and I tried to fill it with material things, money, and nothing could fill that hole. I just felt empty. I didn't have a good relationship with my family. This went on for years. I went to like treatment centers. I could manipulate and buy my way in and out. I would manipulate the people in there to get what I wanted. It never, I would get sober for a bit, and then something bad would happen. I would lose a bunch of money, start using again. I went through, in my life, I've been through 3 different relationships with girls for like 5 years each, and they all ended the same way, right? Because I didn't want to put them in harm's way, so I wouldn't tell them anything, and then they think I was up to something, which I was. I didn't want to, the more you tell people, they can use against you, right? And in that lifestyle. At about, like through these years too, like I got, like, I had multiple attempts on my life. Like I've had my vehicle shot up, and I thought, I was in front of a club and my Range Rover got shot all head height, all across the front window, all down the side. Back of the headrest, I was sitting in, the bullet went right through it. And I was like, man, like, at the time I thought I was just really good at what I did, Now I know it was God. But, that's how clouded your mind gets in that lifestyle, right? And, like I shouldn't be alive today. And now that I know what I know now, I know it was God watching over me because He has a bigger purpose for my life. And I came out here of July 19th of last year. I didn't want to come because it was a year-long program. And the first thing my brain told me was, coming out here, it's a year. Like, how much money am I going to lose in a whole year? And that's where my head went, right? And then, like, my parents, like, I feel so bad for them. Like, I'm used to make the front page of the newspaper, like global news. Like I was always in the front cover, or on my name would be in the newspaper, and they were just regular people, right? And I don't, now I look back and I don't know why I went this way, other than I wanted to take the easy route, right? I wanted the money now. I didn't want to have to work for years to, like, I bought my first car, then after that I was kind of like, I want to upgrade, I want this, but I didn't want to wait, and for the younger kids, save your money, and, don't be in a rush to do things, it's, you want the fancy things, then work hard and save, right? But I didn't want to wait. That's why I did what I did, and so I was 40 years old. I called my friend. He had come to Adult and Teen Challenge about 16 years ago, and he was in the same group I was in, and he just disappeared. I didn't know what happened to him, but he came to Adult and Teen Challenge. saved his life. So I was his cousin's my best friend, and I'm talking to him. He's like, "Man, you got to go out to Winnipeg." I'm like, "Winnipeg?" Because I used to fly out here to sell drugs, and I'm like, "I don't want to go to Winnipeg. I only flew in, right? I didn't know there was all these nice towns out here." But as soon as I decided, like, I was supposed to get surgery on my hand, like before I came out, I was working in Edmonton. I've worked multiple good jobs too. But before I came out, I was away in Edmonton working for 3 months. I came to Vancouver. I used one time. I ended up ODing. I was laying in a hotel room. Like, I just got out of the shower. I used once. And then I guess I was face down in the ground for 14 hours before my friend came and found me. He's a doctor, thank God. And I got rushed to the hospital. You know, I almost died. I was in a coma for 3 days. I was laying on my hand, so now my hand's all messed up. So every time I think about, well, I don't really think about using it anymore, but every time I look at my hand, I realize, you know, I'm lucky to be alive. And I've gone through the program, when I decided to come out to Adult and Teen Challenge, you know, I didn't really want to come, but I thought, you know, for my parents, I'm going to come out, you know, like I owe it to them because they're retired, and I knew that the last 20 years of their lives have been stressed because of me. And I decided to come out. All of a sudden, all the doors started opening for me as soon as I decided that, you know, like I was supposed to go get surgery. All these things were supposed to happen, you know, and I guess I just had faith that I was doing this, like I was doing it for them, but my friend told me, he's like, because I didn't know about being a Christian, right? And my grandma was a Christian, but my parents believe in God, but they don't go to church or do Bible or anything like that. As soon as I decided to come out here, yeah, all the doors started opening. I got out here and I go to church. It's Freedom Church. It was a graduation. I go into the room. There's all these men singing, you know, waving their hands around. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, you know, all these guys singing with tattoos, worshiping the Lord. And I was intimidated. I was like, I can't sing. You know, all these guys are singing and just loving on the Lord. Next day, I checked into the Steinbeck Center, and I asked God into my heart on July 19th, and my life changed like immensely. God's been working on me. Like I hadn't cried in about 15 years, and as soon as I come into this program, I start tearing up all the time. You know, I'm like, what's happening to me? And they're like, oh, that's the Holy Spirit. I'm like, oh, really? You know, and I used to always have to have my way. I used to have always have the last word all the time. Through this program, I've learned so much. I've really got into the Word. You know, like through the program in the beginning, like I couldn't stand some people. You know, there was a couple of guys this one guy came up to me. He just got in the program, and he's like, you know what's funny? He's like, you used to be a gangster, and now you're a Christian, and I can bug you all I want, and you can't touch me now. And I'm like, you know, but through those trials, you know, like those people are the people that help you grow the most in Christ. And through this program, I was for 6 months. I didn't get in any trouble. I've been to jail a few times, so you know I'm like, oh, this is easy, right? You get phone calls, good food. You get to go outside, and as soon as I started getting in trouble and getting discipline, you know, like a couple times it was over like the stupidest things, but I would get in trouble. I would get all this work to do, and I would be mad. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna let this go. I'm gonna, you know, get even with this guy or get this, and then I would get into the Word, and it would just give me this sense of calmness came over me, and I just instantly got over it and went up and hugged the guy. He hugged me back. We apologized. You know, I've never been like that. Like when I came in here, I had a heart of stone for sure, and you know now, every day I get up, I get to go see these guys that are in the program, and you know the work that God's been doing in their life, and you know that's what I live for now. And instead of causing problems, you know I could be the solution now. And working here, we work right down at Central Park, right outside the doors. You know, there's people in need all the time. We go we go outside and feed people, give haircuts. You know, just love on people that have nothing, right? And that's what I'm here doing, and I'm in the Surge program like what Steve did. And you know, it's not easy. It's you know, we live at the center. You know, it's a lot of work, but yeah, I've never been so fulfilled in my life. Money can't give what I have now, and I just want to thank you guys. And I don't know if we can do any questions. Are we still doing that? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions for any of us, but
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, give him a hand. Thank you, guys, each of you, for sharing your stories and being vulnerable and honest and just giving all the glory to God. Yeah, we got about 7 minutes. I'm going to invite you guys, come on up here. Just sit on the front of the stage here. And if you guys have a question, maybe for one of the guys in particular about his story that you want to hear, just a little follow-up, or maybe you have just sort of a question in general, and any one of you four can answer a question that you have about their process, about what their journey down looks like, what that bottom spot looked like, what the journey up has been like. Yeah, any thoughts or questions that you have for them as a group or for a guy individually, and we'll just pass the mic, and whoever wants to answer can answer.
Is it on? Yeah. His name is Joe Entz, Jeff's brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah. I grew up around southern Manitoba, like a little bit in Altona. That's where I was born. A few years in Winkler and Morden and Brandon. And my parents got divorced at a young age, and I kind of just went my own way. I put my family through hell, and I owe them an apology for sure, and I have apologized to them. But what I have to say now is, looking at where I was and looking at where I am now, is God is good. He really is.
For me, when I work with a lot of people in the community, and I get frustrated quite a bit because you see, there's so many people that are struggling, and you're trying to lead them and sometimes push them, and you just don't see any fruit. And then I just remember that, we're all on our own journey. And then I think of Joe, and how many times he came to my place, and had he left one day and said, "Oh, that's it, I give up. He's not changing. Nothing's happening. I'm done," and not come back, I don't know where I would be, right? So I remember things like that, and I just keep going. And I just remember that, Jesus didn't force anyone. It was always an invitation. So we just invite them to come and love them through their journey.
What are the lies that you believed about God before coming into relationship with Him, and what are the truths that have replaced that? How do you see God differently now?
So when I was growing up, my mom came from a really religious background. And so my whole life I just believed that I was bad and I was going to hell and God's mad at me. So I thought I was going to hell, so I figured I'm just going to do my thing and have fun on my way there.
for me, I thought I was unsavable. I thought for the things I had done, that I couldn't be forgiven, and that's I have to give God all the glory, because He has restored my family. We're closer than ever. I talk to my mom and dad every day, and God's blessed me so much. I came here without a license. I got my license back. Everything in my life has come back, and plus more. And I got, like you said, I got to give God the glory for all that.
Yeah, if you would have told me 6 months ago that God was real, I probably would have laughed at you. Maybe had some choice words for you, but no, He's real for sure. You feel Him in your life, and you just count your blessings, obeying Him and being loyal to Him. Count your blessings along the way, because He is good, and He works wonders in people's lives. I see people come into the program and they just have destroyed relationships with their family, and their life is just a mess, and they leave like relationships restored, you know, hearts full of joy and peace, and it's awesome.
So the question was the lies that I believed about God? Well, I kind of had an understanding of the Bible and stuff, right? I don't really know what to say. Like the lies that I believed about God. I don't know. I know that I have to give account. Like you know, like this is what I thought before. Like I'm gonna have to give an account for everything that I do, right? But I still willfully sinned, you know, and everything. But like now, I'm just thankful, like for the grace of God, you know, for the blood of Christ, that I'm walking in this now. It's not just a thing about good works or anything, but it's a relationship with the Lord. Yeah, man.
All right, we are out of time. But we're not out of time. These guys are here. We got 15 minutes between now and the service. If you want to, I'd say come and connect. Just encourage these guys. Thank them for sharing their story. If you've got more questions you want to hear about their story, I'm sure you guys are all kind of an open book, right? We'll also have an opportunity at the end of the service. We'll take up a second offering. We always do this for Adult and Teen Challenge. So when you hear what you've just heard and you want to sow into that ministry, sorry. I don't know. It's a good place to put our money. So there will be an opportunity at the end of the service. We'll take up a second offering just to build into this program to fund salaries for guys like Steve and Derek and so on who are ministering in this way. So if you want to be prepared for that, you can. If you write out a check, make it out to Adult and Teen Challenge, and not to Cornerstone, and we'll take that up afterwards. So thank you guys so much for sharing. Why don't we just give them a hand one more time? And yeah, we'll take 15 minutes, and then we'll come back here for the service at 10:30. Thanks, guys.